The best for me was raising me to be the good girl. There is nothing wrong with prioritize getting into a relationship. If you are twisting yourself into a pretzel in order to be chosen by someone, you will have to continue to pretend for the rest of that relationship in order for it to survive. And girl, that sounds like a horror movie. Run. I turn 36 next month, and if I could go back and talk to my younger self or sit down with my younger sisters or even my nieces, these are the lessons that I wish I learned sooner, before the heartbreak, before the wasted time, before giving myself away. So let's talk about them. I just watched Simone's video, her version of this yesterday, and while I was watching, which excellent video, I highly recommend you watch, especially if you are still in your 20s. I felt prompted to do my own version of this from a perspective of a woman like me who is in her now going into her mid to late 30s, who has experienced being a wife, who's a mom, who has gone through a major life change in her 30s, and how that shapes the different things that I would have told my 21-year-old self, you know, or even maybe my 29 or 30-year-old self. Because let's be honest, the world tells you that you should have all of your stuff figured out between 30 and 35, and sister, no. However, there are some things that I do wish I would have known, because it would have saved me some of that heartbreak or some of those weird cringy things that I used to do. First off, if you've never come across my content before, hey sis, my name is Yanique. I do a lot of fashion related content with some purpose and a little bit of a word, right? So we're getting a message while I'm talking you through personal style, okay? And today's video is more of a yappy one. I haven't had a sit down and chit chat with you in a while. I missed you, girl. I missed talking to you, girl. So housekeeping all done. Grab yourself a cup of tea. I would say a cup of wine, but right now I'm doing no alcohol. I'm on a fitness journey to get snatched by my birthday girl. So grab your cup of tea, some water, grab your Stanley cup, and let's get on to these lessons. One of the things that I would tell you as your big sister, maybe even your auntie girl, I got nieces who are 19 years old, so I could be auntie. Our world has been so increasingly connected via the internet, via social media, that you are never truly alone without being intentional about it, right? You're never really left up to your own devices, because we all carry around the device and hence the world in our hands. So for women my age or older, we had these moments of forced boredom because we didn't have devices to fill those space and time. So you're left to listening to the thoughts that are coming into your mind. Where now, if I have a 15-second break, grabbing the phone. If I need to step away from work or I'm overwhelmed dealing with something in front of me, grabbing the phone. We're scrolling, we're watching TikTok videos or watching YouTube, we're looking at the news. Like, everything is in our hands, and so there is no space for boredom. And boredom is actually very important. It is hard when you have so many distractions around you to even deal with the thought patterns, with your mindset. Half the time you don't even know what those are, because you are bombarded with opinions, with other people's mindsets, with so many content that is telling you what to think, what to do, how to behave, how to just be. And the downside of that is you never really get the space to figure out exactly who you are, what you care about, what is God saying to you. Because we know that the Lord speaks in small, still voices. And if you are chronically entertained or distracted by media, when do you have that silence to listen and to hear and to recognize his voice when he is speaking to you? The other thing about getting comfortable with boredom is once you are okay with being by yourself or being in silence, you will stop filling that silence with reaching out to foolishness, whether it be foolish people, foolish opportunities, having to be out and about or on the scene all all of the time because you are not comfortable with boredom and silence and yourself, you will always entertain people, whether that is intimate relationships or just platonic relationships. You will always entertain people who are not good for you, who are not aligned for you, who do not have the same value systems that you do, solely because you are bored and they are available. How many times have you texted someone because it was quiet, and in order to fill the space you were like, oh well, let me just text him back? I mean, I'm not interested for real, or like, he has consistently shown me patterns of behavior which lets me know that this is not the person that I want to deal with in the long term, but he pays me attention. He fills up the silence. It gives me something to do. So you're gonna have to be very, very intentional about this. I will block out time for social media throughout my day. It's easier for me to do now because I've been doing this for a long time, and because overall, girl, I am busy, okay? So I don't have hours upon hours unless I am being completely lazy and shrugging off all responsibility to just scroll social media and YouTube all day long, okay? And I have those days. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I don't. But for the most part, I block schedule my social media. I am promising myself, okay, girl, you got the next 15 minutes to scroll, and then we're going to move on to X, Y, and Z. I'm also tapped into actual community in real life, IRL, okay? And so that helps a lot. So instead of creating this habit where I'm using social media to fill time and I'm justifying it by, oh, I'm catching up with friends and stuff. Girl, no, I'll just pick up the phone and I'll call, or I'll text and reach out to my friends and my family. I will go and sit down and have a conversation with my grandmother or my mom in real life. And that cuts down on my social media use because I'm not justifying the social media by like, oh, this is how I socialize. You see what I'm saying? Use the internet to become informed, but get off of the internet to really understand how you think about these different issues and how you see yourself. Now, in Simone's video, she touches on the glow up aesthetic and how it is really focused on external characteristics, right? And I've talked about this also in a couple of videos. I'll link it up here. And while you should be working on yourself from the inside out, where your glow up is not purely about what you look like, you will hear creators talk about confidence, that you need to have a healthy self-confidence. And I am here to tell you, as your almost 36-year-old sister or aunt, that you don't just need self-confidence, you need self-worth, and the two are not the same. Self-confidence is your outer polish. It is how you feel about yourself. It is, you can walk in the room and know that you're beautiful and know that you have value to offer in whatever space that you walk into. I have the skill set, I have the talent, I have the self-confidence, where self-worth is about your inner foundation. It is, I have a healthy foundation of who I am, my inner beliefs, my value system, what I will and will not stand for, what I will stand for, what I will stand against, and it is unshakable. And this is what fuels your self-confidence. So if something happens to your appearance, or you lose your job or a title, you get divorced, something happened to you externally, because you have built up your self-worth, it doesn't shake the core of who you are to where now you're depressed, right? We have seen where people have built successful careers and then the stock market hits and what their company was valued at is now, hold up, pause, rewind. I'm talking to my younger sisters. Let's use a different example. We have seen beautiful, talented, successful women choose quite interesting partners to spend life with, that from us looking from the outside, we have a hard time understanding because it's like, oh my God, she owns this red carpet. Whenever she's around, her presence is so big. Her aura, like the girls call it now, her aura is magnetic and she's so talented. She's so successful. Why would she choose him? I'm going to use a public figure example that we are going to acknowledge we don't know these people for real and we don't know what's happening undercover. This is literally from an observer's perspective, right? Hallie and DDG, for instance. She is extremely gifted, talented, successful, beautiful. From what she presents in her personal brand, she seems like a very sweet, kind-hearted girl, right? Like, again, we don't know this girl for real, but when you see a choice like DGG, which seems so opposite to who she has presented herself to be all of these years, one wonders, okay, confidence, she eat the girls up on a red carpet, put a microphone in her hand, eating the girls up, singing us down, okay? Put her on this movie screen and she ate up the role of Ariel. Are you serious? So it seems as if she has a high self-confidence. But then when you see the partner that was chosen in that time period, right? It doesn't seem as if the self-worth might have been there, because you can have a high self-confidence, especially when it is built on the back of your career, how you present yourself, a role that you hold, a title that you have, but then your self-worth is here because it's all built on who you present yourself to be and how you look, instead of who you actually are and what your standards are. Because your standards are built off of your self-worth, not really your self-confidence. Outside of the Hallie DDG situation, we probably know women in our personal lives that they are very confident, but the partner is a dead giveaway that this is probably not, they're probably not on the same level. What could happen to you, sister, if you do not build up this part, the self-worth, is that whenever you hit a hard season or something comes along that challenges your confidence, because your self-worth is in the pits or it's just not high because you've based how you move throughout the world based on confidence and not worthiness, you would start blaming yourself. You will start going, okay, maybe this is what I deserve. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I thought that I was gorgeous, but clearly there was somebody else that was better than me. You can fake self-confidence, right? Because self-confidence is literally external, is how you show up. So you can fake self-confidence, but that self-worth is going to show up every time. When you hit a hard season, when you hit rejection, it is your self-worth that determines, how do I go, or where do I go from here? How do I move through the world from here? Because if I know, okay, I didn't get the job, I didn't get the opportunity. If I have a healthy sense of self-worth, I am not going, well, I guess I wasn't good enough. Imposter syndrome lives here, okay? I guess I wasn't good enough. I guess I don't have the talent that I thought I had. I guess I did not have the skill set that I thought I have. I guess I am not beautiful enough. I guess there are other options better than me. I guess my past mistakes make me unworthy of this good thing. That's your self-worth talking, not self-confidence. And that's why you need both. In order to build your self-worth, I highly suggest starting with therapy, okay? Therapy and Jesus go very, very well here, okay? Because this fixes the foundation. So your mindset, your limiting beliefs, the childhood trauma that you have got through, or even just thought patterns that you have adopted as ideology that came out of your experiences from childhood growing up, that all goes into your self-worth. If therapy is not an option for you, Jesus always is. I'm just saying. But if therapy is not an option for you right now, start by reading the book Worthy by Jamie Kearns. Let's actually look it up so I'm not lying to you. Yep, Jamie Kern Lima. Okay, so I'll pop it up on the screen. I'll also put description down below. And she does a good job, a great job, an amazing job of breaking down the difference between self-confidence and self-worth and how to work on both. How to get to a place where you know you are worthy as is, because that's the important part, that you are worthy as is and you don't have to work yourself into being deserving. Can you work on your talents? Can you work on your skill sets? Absolutely. But when you are grounded in a healthy self-worth, rejection doesn't immediately mean something is wrong with me. Rejection starts to look like this wasn't the opportunity for me. There is something else that is better aligned, that is better for who I am, that is better for what I value, that is better aligned with my morals, that God has something better for me, and it wasn't this. It wasn't this job. It wasn't this brand partnership. It wasn't this partner. When you have a healthy self-worth, you realize that your existence is not just about being chosen. So let's talk about relationships, intimate relationships. Let's back up a little bit and let's talk about something that I struggled with a lot as growing up. Okay, and when I say growing up, I mean even into my late 20s, early 30s, maybe not. Yeah, early 30s, okay? And that is the good girl trope. Let me tell you. Now, the caveat to this conversation is that I'm going to be coming from a perspective of somebody who grew up in a religious background. I grew up Pentecostal. I'm Jamaican. I grew up in a traditional Pentecostal Jamaican household, okay? I grew up in a household where I was the only girl. So while I do have sisters, I was the only daughter in the household that I grew up in. And because I am not the oldest child for either of my parents, but I am the first child that they both raised together in this household, it's another layer of pressure to be the golden child. This is the child where we get it right. Okay, and so the good girl trope was all up and down my upbringing. Okay, now I know that my parents wanted the best for me, and for them, the best, especially coming out of a religious environment, a Pentecostal religious environment, the best for me was raising me to be the good girl. And I want you to know, baby, it is a scheme that Todd set up, okay? Yes, you want your daughter to survive and to thrive in a world that is not meant for Black women to thrive, but raising them with the good girl point of view does them a disservice. I am not talking to you just based out of my own personal experience. This also comes from a sociological perspective. My degree is in sociology and anthropology, okay? And so we are talking about the intersection of culture, religion, and society, and it all plays a part into this good girl trope. Now, I am a follower of Jesus, okay? So while I think that the good girl trope is terrible because it sets up especially Black women for the short end of the stick and does not prepare them for actual thriving in this world that we live in today, I am not telling you to go out there and sleep with a bunch of men. we are not equating the opposite of the good girl to being, girl, just go out there, sleep around. I don't think that is a healthy option for you either. The thing with the good girl perspective, when it sits at the intersection of the culture that I grew up in, which is very similar to African American culture, right? Society that we live in today, and then you layer that with religion, is it teaches the girl that she should be at her maximum serving capabilities. She is optimized to serve while also being optimized to require the barest of minimums, which leaves her open and vulnerable to be used, abused, and casted aside when they're done. Okay, it also leaves her with high self-confidence that's built on righteousness, like a self-righteousness, the negative form. Okay, it's you have made yourself righteous, and at the same time your self-worth is in the pits because it's all based on how other people perceive you, and how they perceive you is based on what you offer them. So your whole value is tied up in what you offer, particularly to men, while also telling you you should be low maintenance. Because who wants a high maintenance person? Who really wants a woman with high standards? Her standards are too high. If you have a list with many things on it, girl, you're delusional, because really and truly you should just be grateful that you're being chosen. And the only way that you're going to be chosen is if you can offer your whole mind, body, and soul to him. Don't that sound like a scheme that Todd set up? Because who wins? The patriarchy. That system is meant to keep the patriarchy moving, because you as a good girl, if you have internalized that idea, that ideology, you then turn around and teach the women around you, your daughters, your granddaughters, the same thing. If you are struggling with being the good girl, and that not struggling like I'm struggling to have actions that signify me as a good girl, just struggling with like, okay, well, I had premarital sex, I curse, sometimes I'm selfish, I like nice things, like I love my children, but they are a part of my world, they're not my world. I am here to tell you, it does not make you less worthy or less valuable. That does not become the standpoint from which you are not being chosen. So if you are struggling and you are also not married and you desire marriage, trying to cosplay as this good girl that is not truly attainable unless you like die, your true self dies and your true value dies. It's the only way that you're going to survive in that type of world. Baby, throw it away. Throw it away. Because if you build a persona around this idea of who a good girl is and how she behaves and how she thinks, you are going to end up in a partnership that is not serving you and is not fulfilling you, because first of all, you're not showing up in this world as who you truly are. So how can you pick the right partner for you if you don't even know or operate as who you truly are? Let's talk about it. And this is something that Simone points out in her video too, that being a people pleaser is a form of manipulation. And that good girl, that trope is wrapped up in people pleasing, because it is other people validating to you that you are a good girl. And that validation comes from a point of view of what you do for them, what you do in service for them. And baby, it's manipulation, because if you are twisting yourself into a pretzel in order to be chosen by someone, you're gonna have to stay twisted up as a pretzel for the rest of that length of the relationship in order to make it work. You can't now okay, now I got the ring, I got chosen, now I can unwind myself and start to learn who I actually am. That's not fair to him. You done manipulated the man by being somebody that you're not, in order to say, okay, great, I've been chosen, I'm married, and now you want to show up as your true self. What you think is gonna happen? It's not fair to you nor anyone else around you. You know what's best for us, for this world, is for your true voice, your true behavior, your true identity to walk through this world. Sure, work on yourself. Become the best version of you, but that best version of you does not mean cosplaying what they tell you a good girl or the good woman looks like, acts like, thinks like. This is why we got to get in the lab with God. I'm a God-fearing woman, and I'm going to tell you, you have to get in the lab with God. You have to get into the lab with therapy and Jesus to really figure out who it is that you are, not who them people told you you had to be. That's the only way you're going to get in a position where, excuse me, you feel fulfilled. You have the set of standards that actually align with you and not standards that have been spoon-fed to you from a system that benefits from you not prioritizing yourself. Thank you, Todd, but no. Just like how many of us are taught to cosplay as the good girl, you will find men have also grown up in that system, learning how to cosplay as a good guy, where a lot of their requirements for what a good guy looks like is built upon comparing themselves to the most extreme of trash men. And so if he is a good guy simply because he does not cheat on you, you got to do way more of some combing through the details of who he actually is to determine if this is truly a good guy. If he is a good guy because his mom and the other women in his life have just told him all of his life that he is a good guy and nobody has held him accountable for his behavior, nobody has pointed out some of the flaws or points that he needs to work on to become a good guy in action and not just in name, you need to do more digging. Is he a good guy based on his actions, based on integrity, based on his moral compass, on his value system, or is he a good guy because he's tall, dark, and handsome and he doesn't cheat?
I'm here to tell you right now.
It's not enough. It is not enough that he actually wants to be married and he wants children. Does he want to be a husband? Does he want to be a father? Is he following Christ? Is he submitted to God? Does he know how to lead by example and not just because he has a penis? Does he know how to treat men, women, and the children around him? Does he know how to contribute in this world more than I'm a good guy? As women, and I am putting it on you because the only people that we can control is ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to put this on you. Now, I'm not saying to look for perfection because we are not perfect people. We are imperfect people. Okay, we all have stuff that we are working through, right? But we need more of a character analysis. We have to hold these men to a actual standard, and if you work on your self-worth and if you work on your identity and your value outside of being chosen, this part will become easier for you, okay? Because you're not going to act out of desperation. You're going to act from a place of, I am working on me, and the partner that I am choosing is going to better fit and align with who I actually am and what I actually desire in marriage. Because I'm here to tell you, one of the gravest mistakes that you can make in this life is choosing the wrong partner, because it makes life difficult. So you need an honest examination of who you are interviewing as your partner. Cool. And sometimes we get wrapped up in our first good guy that we don't notice that the good guy is a facade. you will have to continue to pretend for the rest of that relationship in order for it to survive. And girl, that sounds like a horror movie. Run. Sis, your life is not about becoming worthy to be chosen. It is not wrapped up in how you can serve others. If you don't know who you are outside of any of your roles, if whenever I ask you, who are you? Or if anybody asks you, if you ask yourself, who am I? And the first thing out of your mouth is a title that is indicative to you serving somebody else, we have to course correct. Get into your journal, get into your prayer life, start talking to God personally, okay? Start having an intimate one-to-one relationship between you and the Lord, and you have to figure that part out. I highly recommend that you do that before you prioritize getting into a relationship. There is nothing wrong with prioritize getting into a relationship. There is something wrong prioritizing getting into a relationship before you prioritize who you are, what you value, what are your morals, and what you actually need. There's so much more to you than what you can offer a man or people. There's so much more to you than how you show up in a role of service. And that is the part that you prioritize. I would love to hear some of the lessons that you have learned, especially if you are also in your 30s. Leave some lessons for our younger sisters who might be watching. I'm going to get down in those comments and talk to you, sis. And until then, I will see you in the next one.